Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 86 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. The blood-colored insect vanished and reappeared repeatedly, trying to penetrate the world's membrane wall. Yet each time, it was blocked by the thick and sturdy membrane wall. I've heard that theft is common within Yulon City. Seeing it today, the theft techniques are indeed impressive. The three Luofeng avatars within his inner world watched the blood-colored insect and smiled. "Let me out, and I won't bother you again," the blood-colored insect said while floating in the air. "Ha ha, you choose to steal when you wish, try to invade my inner world when you desire, and now you want to leave." The three Luofengs looked at the blood-colored insect. Too late. The blood-colored insect was furious. With a flutter of its 6 pairs of small wings, it vanished instantly, reappearing near one of the avatars. This avatar was one of Luofeng's 5 types of avatars, the Heavenly Light Avatar. The Heavenly Light Avatar is the most indestructible among the 5 types of avatars. Its body is like a divine weapon's secret treasure. Luofeng places great importance on this avatar, but it cannot withstand a high perfect divine body energy reserve. The more energy it has, the more the Heavenly Light Avatar will collapse and condense, requiring higher demands on the spiritual will. With a one-time perfect divine body energy reserve, the Heavenly Light Avatar has collapsed and condensed once. With a 3 times perfect divine body energy reserve, the Heavenly Light Avatar has collapsed and condensed for the 2nd time. With a 10 times perfect divine body energy reserve, is the most powerful form that Luofeng can maintain now, having collapsed and condensed 3 times. As for a stronger form, Luofeng's spiritual will cannot make it collapse and condense further. Boom! The blood-colored insect, itself like a secret treasure, collided with the Heavenly Light Avatar. Like 2 secret treasures colliding, neither sustained a single scratch. What? It's clearly the weakest avatar in terms of energy. The blood-colored insect was surprised. Seal. The Heaven and Earth avatar merged with the inner world. At this moment, a vast heaven and earth energy formed into a colossal grinding plate, one of the life and death Tao ultimate realm secret techniques created by Luofeng, the life and death grinding plate. The huge grinding plate completely trapped the blood-colored insect, attempting to crush it. However, the insect's body, like a secret treasure, was not afraid of being crushed. Not good. The blood-colored insect was trapped within the colossal grinding plate, continuously pressed but unable to escape. "Luofeng, do you really want to?" The blood-colored insect roared angrily. Luofeng frowned upon listening. These theft forces indeed have impressive intelligence networks. He had just entered the city and registered basic information today, and already the thieving cultivator knew his name. Slash. The nearby causality avatar immediately executed the curse-killing technique. Luofeng's 5 types of avatars, World Avatar, Heaven and Earth Avatar, Time Avatar, Heavenly Light Avatar, Causality Avatar. The Causality Avatar, with its acute sense of causality, has a natural advantage and is suitable for causality-related secret techniques. Luofeng then created a technique using the Life and Death Tao, an ultimate realm secret technique, Absolute Life Termination. This invisible causality curse-killing primarily targeted the blood-colored insect. Ah! In just a moment, the blood-colored insect let out a piercing scream, its aura weakening significantly. "Stop, stop!" The blood-colored insect immediately spoke out. "A small insect that can withstand my strike." Causality Luofeng was surprised. "Let's try again." "I surrender, I surrender," the blood-colored insect hurriedly said. This blood-colored insect was one of the 3 great life-bound insects he cultivated at great cost. If a life-bound insect died, he too would be severely injured. The key was that his theft technique largely relied on this insect. "Surrender and you think you can just leave?" The 3 Luofengs looked at it simultaneously. "I am willing to compensate," the blood-colored insect said with reluctance but nodded obediently. Although the life-bound insect seemed like a secret treasure, the curse-killing technique was quite effective against it. With another blow, the life-bound insect's consciousness could be extinguished. How much can you compensate? A small amount, I won't bother with, Luo Feng said. I'm willing to compensate with 10,000 primordial crystals, the blood-colored insect said. Luo Feng sneered, this insect of yours is not an avatar, yet it resembles one. It's much more precious than ordinary divine weapon secret treasures. I don't ask for much, just 200,000 primordial crystals. One less, and I'll kill it now. 200,000 primordial crystals. The blood-colored insect exclaimed. That's too harsh, asking for so much. You have 3 breaths time to consider. If you don't agree within 3 breaths time, I'll kill it. Luo Feng didn't waste words with it. He had visited too many shops before and had seen similar insects, learning about the cultivation requirements from attendants. From the exchange, Luo Feng estimated that the total cost to cultivate it would start from 300,000 primordial crystals, possibly even reaching 500,000 to 600,000. 3, 2. Luo Feng looked at the blood-colored insect. Fine. The blood-colored insect said grudgingly but ultimately agreed. Give me some time to prepare. I will deliver the primordial crystals soon, the blood-colored insect said. You know where my cave mansion is, right? Luo Feng said. Later, send the primordial crystals to my cave mansion, you give me the primordial crystals, and I'll give you this blood-colored insect. Receiving the primordial crystals outside, Luo Feng still worried about being ambushed. It's safer to receive compensation in the cave mansion. Fine, the blood-colored insect could only respond in grief and indignation. Luo Feng nodded. Sigh? Luo Feng stopped browsing and immediately turned into a streak of light, flying towards his own cave mansion at an extremely high speed. This was a deal involving 200,000 primordial crystals, and naturally, Luo Feng had to give it ample importance. How come I have to compensate 200,000 primordial crystals? The small figure in the distance gritted his teeth, yet he was powerless. Clearly, there is an issue with the internal intelligence of the organization. This Luo he has unfathomable methods, and it's too difficult to deal with the numerous avatars acting together. He also quietly left to prepare the primordial crystals. What? You were robbed, and you trapped a peculiar insect from the thief. Emperor Qing looked at Luo Feng, quite surprised. That insect was quite formidable. It sneaked into my inner world without a sound. But although it got in, it can't get out. Luo Feng smiled. Purely relying on the inner world certainly couldn't stop the insect. But the Heaven and Earth avatar was best suited for merging with a world, and that was how he trapped the insect. Without sufficient compensation, I would just kill this peculiar insect. You've just arrived at Yulon City, and he already knows your name. This indicates that the force behind him is likely connected with the elders of the Elder Hall. Emperor Qing pondered and said, of course, to target a newcomer like you, an elder would not be so idle. At most, it's an order from their middle ranks. Brother Luo He, if you take these 200,000 primordial crystals, they will start targeting you, Emperor Qing said. Do you think I shouldn't take them? Luo Feng looked at Emperor Qing. The stealing force is nothing to fear, Emperor Qing said with a smile. We who come out of the source world have avatars. Other than high-level primordial lives, what is there to be afraid of? Just be mentally prepared, they will play dirty tricks on you in the future. Luo Feng nodded. Strong individuals who come out of the source world have avatars in their homeland source world. When adventuring in other worlds, it's usually just the avatars that die in battle, and treasures are lost. It's only beings who have escaped the braided cage that can contaminate their souls and cause their death across the source world. Adventuring out in the world, even if you're careful to hide, there will always be those who actively seek trouble. This small issue is not worth mentioning. Luo Feng didn't care. Since the other party made a move against him, they had to pay the price. A moment later, a visitor arrived at the entrance of the cave mansion. Here they come. Luo Feng and Emperor Qing both went out to meet the guest. A black-robed figure stood there, the interior of the black robe filled with mist. This mist twisted and observed Luo Feng and Emperor Qing. Luo Feng, right, the black-robed mist twisted as it spoke, Are you sure you want 200,000 primordial crystals? You can choose not to give them. Luo Feng looked at it. Emperor Qing also calmly observed the black-robed mist. Strong individuals from the source world have a hint of pride in their bones. If it really comes to a life-and-death fight, who would be afraid? Very well. The black-robed mist nodded, and suddenly a pouch flew out from the mist. You check it. It contains 200,000 primordial crystals. Luo Feng reached out to receive it. His consciousness penetrated and searched it, and he nodded to confirm, correct. Immediately, Luo Feng thought, and released the imprisoned blood-colored insect from his inner world. As soon as the blood-colored insect came out, it immediately disappeared into hiding. The black-robed mist turned and left. I was ordered to target Luo Feng, but this time I failed. I cannot be the one to compensate the entire 200,000 primordial crystals. The small figure joined the black-robed mist inside the large spherical creature. The black-robed mist glanced at its subordinate and coldly said, observing the prey is the most basic ability. Your failure is due to your own lack of skill. The small figure was quite frustrated. Theft, failure is normal. Running into tough opposition, getting caught, it could happen. But such an occurrence, the cost was too great. This time he lost a full 200,000 primordial crystals. Remember, do not completely trust the intelligence, said the black-robed mist. He took so many primordial crystals from me, just like that. The small figure was somewhat unwilling to let it go. Emperor Qing is from the source world, and this Luo Feng must also be from the source world, the black-robed mist said. Do not easily act against divine emperors who come out of the source world. It's not worth it to act impulsively just to feel good for a moment. The small figure was quite upset. It's my loss. Of course, you don't feel the pain. Wait for the opportunity, wait for the right opportunity. Strike once, and make that Luo Feng really regret and feel the pain. The black-robed mist glanced at the small figure. Killing a few avatars of a strong individual from the source world doesn't really hurt them. We must steal their true treasures. You should keep a close watch on that Luo Feng. Once you discover information about his important treasures, immediately inform me. After a successful move, I'll give you a 10th, instructed the black-robed mist. The small figure nodded. He was already looking for prey. Naturally, he would pay extra attention to Luo Feng. Just arrived in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, the thing I lack the most is primordial crystals. Luo Feng was quite pleased with the 200,000 primordial crystals. Added to what Emperor Qing loaned him, it amounted to a total of 300,000 primordial crystals. He could afford to be a little extravagant now. Immediately, Luo Feng began a large-scale purchase. Every time he went out, he would not carry more than 5,000 primordial crystals, spending 3 days to carefully observe, making purchases numerous times, spending slightly more than 190,000 primordial crystals to acquire everything he needed. It's time to start closed-door cultivation. Looking at the many resources piled in front of him, with the most being the remains of the innate primordial life, some were a bottle of blood, some a feather, or a bone, he bought more than 300 portions of such remains, with an average price of about 300 primordial crystals each. Compared to the mysteries contained in Star Tower and Eye of Life and Death, the mysteries contained within these low-level primordial life remains are simpler. They are slightly more profound than a complete Great Tao, but easier to understand. Turn these resources into strength. Luo Feng began his calm cultivation. Luo Feng sat cross-legged, his biomimetic eye of destruction opened between his eyebrows, observing a thick bone in front of him. Although the biomimetic eye of destruction could not match the observational abilities of high-level primordial life, within the Divine Emperor level, it was considered an extremely formidable secret technique of observation. The intricacies of life can also be utilized in this way. Luo Feng looked at the secret patterns inside the thick bone and felt suddenly enlightened, gaining new insights. Luo Feng had purchased over 300 remnants of low-level innate primordial life, either of the life type, destruction type, or a combination of both life and destruction. Moreover, all these mysteries surpassed the complete level of the Great Tao. What I need is exactly these. Luo Feng was completely immersed, fully focused on his comprehension. Low-level primordial life, high-level primordial life, world-level primordial life, primordial ancestor. Each leap represented a huge transformation in the essence of life. The complexity and profoundness of the secret patterns contained within were equally transformative. Luo Feng also realized his best way of comprehension should be to study from the low to the high, laying a solid foundation at each level of intricacy. By doing so, understanding the blood-colored scale from the Star Tower, which was the hardest, would also become much easier. A high-rise tower is built from the ground up. These remnants of low-level primordial life are the very foundation of a high-rise tower. Luo Feng absorbed a variety of knowledge with patience. As he comprehended these secret patterns, Luo Feng's path of destruction naturally broke through, reaching the ultimate realm. Having arrived in the Nine Rivers sacred realm for merely half an epoch, his path of destruction formally reached the ultimate realm. Of course, this was also because his path of destruction was already on the verge of breakthrough. Time passed. Finally, Luo Feng had completed a round of comprehension with all 300+ remnants. It's just a superficial round of comprehension. Luo Feng was somewhat surprised, as it really been 36 epochs. It's time to start consuming primordial crystals. For the first round of comprehension, he did not use any treasures. Now, Luo Feng consumed primordial crystals, significantly enhancing his state, and began to organize the knowledge from the first round of comprehension, integrating knowledge into his own cultivation system. Just by organizing and thinking, Luo Feng had spent another 15 epochs. If I hadn't come to the Nine Rivers sacred realm and hadn't come into contact with so many remnants of low-level primordial life, and relied solely on my own in-depth comprehension, when would I have uncovered so many mysteries? Luo Feng was quite pleased. That piece of blood scale from the Star Tower was like a light at the farthest reach of the cultivation path. Too far from Luo Feng. Like a mortal who can see a distant star. But is it possible to walk there? The dark journey is too long and far, full of peril. Thus, more resources are needed to break through the obstacles layer by layer. Start the second round of comprehension. This time Luo Feng, in the state of using primordial crystals, went through his comprehension carefully. This second round of comprehension was clearly much faster, taking only 12 epochs to complete. He then spent another 6 epochs to once again integrate the knowledge into his system. During this process, Luo Feng spontaneously created several ultimate realm secret techniques of the life and death Tao. Once the knowledge is accumulated, the creation of secret techniques becomes a matter of course. Begin the third round. Luo Feng picked up a bottle beside him. Inside the bottle were 3 pills that were an excellent aid for cultivation in the weaker stages, called Heaven and Earth Unity Pill, each costing 30,000 primordial crystals. This was far more extravagant than consuming primordial crystals, but the effects were much better. Heaven and Earth Unity Pill was a green Dan pill, radiating a faint white light all over, stirring the mysterious fluctuations of many rules, as if it wanted to blend into the Heaven and Earth rules at any time. Luo Feng controlled it with a strand of strength and swallowed it. As the pill entered his mouth, boom! Luo Feng felt his whole body and even his soul become one with the Heaven and Earth rules. His thoughts accelerated explosively, casually glancing around, insights emerged in his mind. The state was extraordinarily wondrous. Commencing the third round of comprehension of these remnants, Luo Feng started his comprehension. With the foundation of the previous 2 rounds, and now with the aid of the Heaven and Earth Unity Pill, Luo Feng's comprehension went straight to the essence, understanding many deeper mysteries of life and destruction. Life, destruction. Time continued to pass, Luo Feng immersed in it. The joy of seeking the Tao, brimming in his heart. Unknowingly the effect of the pill passed, Luo Feng immediately consumed the second one, fully engrossed in comprehension. Not even finished with the effect of the second pill, Luo Feng completed the third round of comprehension. After that, he began to sort out and integrate his insights. Boom! During this process, his understanding of the great Tao of life and death continued to rise, and he naturally grasped the complete life and death Tao. Luo Feng didn't stop, he even took the third pill and continued with his comprehension and understanding. The knowledge of life and death clashed and merged incessantly. Luo Feng felt his brain slowing down significantly in an instant. With a severe sense of fatigue and pain, his state deteriorated greatly. The effect of the pill is gone. Luo Feng finally halted his cultivation. What a good damn pill. This heaven and earth unity pill can be taken up to 10 in a row. But after taking 10, the soul will be hurt and will need to rest with some treasures for a few epochs. If it's just 3 or 5 pills, it's merely extreme fatigue. Luo Feng smiled. This retreat lasted 87 epochs. It was better than the 2,000 epochs of comprehension on the land of origin. Luo Feng was certain of this. With the help of many resources, the effects indeed matched dozens of times over, the key being that on the land of origin, he couldn't have come into contact with enough low-level primordial life remains, and might have hit a bottleneck. New knowledge, on the other hand, could allow for a flash of inspiration to break through the bottleneck. The great Tao of life and death has reached the ultimate realm. Luo Feng was not at all surprised. Back in the land of origin, with the great Tao of life and death, he had already comprehended 8 ultimate realm secret techniques. Accumulating a dozen more secret techniques, a breakthrough was also possible. This time, he merely pondered over the knowledge contained within the remains, and in the process, he naturally made a breakthrough on the side. Life, destruction, and life and death. I'm quite certain about the future direction of these 3 paths, Luo Feng revealed with a smile. In terms of profoundness, there are the Star Tower, the Eye of Life and Death, and 2 kinds of special life remnants. Regarding the foundational secret patterns, there's also an abundance of low-level primordial life remains. Having seen enough possibilities, Luo Feng became more certain about the future. My path of life, the future direction, is to pursue the larger the life, the better, the stronger the origin of life, the better. Luo Feng determined this. Bigger is better. As vast as the source world. Even larger than the source world. My life, no longer restricted. The bigger the better, as long as I can control it, then pursue the ultimate vastness, Luo Feng thought. Other cultivators don't dare to do this. Simply being big has many drawbacks. For instance, it greatly weakens capabilities in combat, escape, and many other aspects, making one an easy target for the enemy. The destruction path pursues the ultimate killing methods, no need to worry about the rest, just need to kill. These 2 paths, both are extremes. Normal cultivators wouldn't do this, too many flaws. Luo Feng can do this because he also has the great Tao of life and death to fuse the 2. My life and death path, however, is to integrate the 2 into 1. Luo Feng was very clear. These 3 directions are all difficult. The more extreme the paths of life and destruction, the harder it is to fuse the extremes into 1. Yet, Luo Feng vaguely saw such a path within the blood-colored scale of the Star Tower. That piece of blood-colored scale made Luo Feng feel the endless vast horror of the life form. However, that terrifying life form's aspect of killing was still weak. Luo Feng felt that both were indispensable. To play on the strongest point of the blood-colored scale, and then make up for its weaknesses. That would be his path. This path is difficult, and I'm just starting now. Luo Feng was still excited, because he finally had a vague plan for how to break out of the braided cage. He was also clear that the vague plan would definitely meet with many obstacles in the process of advancing. Step by step it is. Now, I need more low-level primordial life remains, Luo Feng thought to himself. Low-level primordial life, their strength ranged from early stage of Divine Emperor to the perfection. The stronger the life form, the more profound the secret patterns. The more than 300 pieces Luo Feng bought, costing an average of 300 primordial crystals each, were obviously one of the cheaper kind. Get ready, and then go hunting with Emperor Qing. Luo Feng first took the primordial crystals to recuperate for some time, and then created some secret techniques suitable for his 5 avatars based on the complete, great Tao of life and death. Once the complete Tao is comprehended, any move made at will is an ultimate realm secret technique, and he can even combine many moves to create forbidden moves, killing moves, whose powers can qualitatively change. This is also why an early-stage Divine Emperor Enlightened is comparable to a middle-stage Divine Emperor Primordial Bloodline Cultivator. Unknowingly, another 3 epochs passed. It's time to come out of seclusion. Luo Feng felt well prepared and immediately got up and walked out of the quiet room. Emperor Qing knew that Luo Feng was in seclusion and was very patient. His first time coming to the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm, he too was purchasing various resources to further his strength before going out for adventuring and hunting. Emperor Ming and Dai Fu went out again. Emperor Qing shook his head slightly. They are diligent in going out. Emperor Ming and Dai Fu did not carry a single primordial crystal with them when they went out. Absolutely poor. The two of them naturally were not afraid of being robbed. They wandered around Yulon City, looking for opportunities. They even went to some merchants to look at the remains. Although they viewed them through a separate space and could not see in great detail, they could still garner some gains. Dai Fu's strength is too weak. He even struggles to find work in Yulon City. However, Emperor Ming, with his primordial bloodline, barely reached the early-stage Divine Emperor strength and could find a job, Emperor Qing thought, but he seems dissatisfied. Regarding this, Emperor Qing couldn't be bothered to interfere too much. Providing a free place to live was already a big help. Suddenly, Emperor Qing sensed Luo Feng leaving his space. Emperor Qing, Luo Feng also saw the distant Emperor Qing at a glance. Finished your seclusion? Emperor Qing was surprised and smiled. Why so soon? It's the first time coming to the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. You still need to understand those resources properly. Almost there, Luo Feng smiled. I'm getting ready to purchase suitable weapon secret treasures, and then I can go out for hunting. Oh. Emperor Qing showed joy. Ready to go out for a hunt? Emperor Qing asked, Brother Luo Feng, when we go hunting together, we need to cooperate with each other. Therefore, we should understand what each of us is good at. I walk the path of space, and I am most skilled at sword arrays, using them to trap and kill enemies. I specialize in close combat fighting, Luo Feng said. The great Tao of life and death inherently involves the transformation between life and death, suited for combat. The great Tao of life and death, at the ultimate realm is enough to be on par with the early stage of a divine emperor on an ordinary path. Just with the life and death Tao alone, Luo Feng could compare to an early stage divine emperor, the enlightened. Not to mention he also has 5 powerful avatars. Even the enlightened at the early stage of divine emperor who focus on body refinement might have strong physical bodies, but it's hard for them to have such special talents like those 5. Ha ha ha, excellent. I'll set up the formation, and you focus on close quarter combat. We're a perfect pair, Emperor Qing said joyfully. Among cultivators, only a few are willing to engage in close combat, especially since the targets are innate primordial life forms. Which of those innate primordial life forms isn't formidable in vitality and gifted in talents? However, I still lack a suitable weapon, Luo Feng mentioned. Let's go, I'll accompany you. Emperor Qing, all prepared, was ready to lend some primordial crystals to Luo Feng if needed. A short time later, Luo Feng and Emperor Qing arrived at a merchant's place in the inner city of Yulon City. Luo Feng had visited the whole city upon his arrival at Yulon City and had a clear understanding of the weapon secret treasures there. These gloves. Luo Feng set his eyes on a pair of black gloves. These gloves were made by Tao Lord Waning Moon in his early years, containing the mysteriousness of both life and destruction paths. The combination of life and death is terrifying, an attendant said with a smile. Now, Tao Lord Waning Moon is one of the pinnacle existences in the dark sacred realm, having pushed both the life and destruction paths to the half-step primordial level. Luo Feng had heard of him before. A very dreadful the enlightened, both paths reaching the half-step primordial level. Much stronger than the ancestors of the 2 kingdoms. What's the price? Asked Emperor Qing, eagerly. 150,000 primordial crystals, the attendant replied with a smile. Make it cheaper, Luo Feng bargained. Except for a few items with fixed pricing, many treasures in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm could be bargained for. The gloves were quite powerful, but the target audience was too small, appealing only to those like Luo Feng who practiced both life and destruction paths. I will go ask the Hall Master. Seeing Luo Feng's intention to buy, the attendant immediately went to report. The Hall Master himself came to negotiate. After some negotiations, the final deal was made for 98,000 primordial crystals. Luo Feng happily received the set of gloves. These gloves were personally crafted by Dao Lord Waning Moon for his disciple when his mastery in both life and destruction paths were at the late stage of Divine Emperor. At that time, Dao Lord Waning Moon also held a high position in the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. One should know that reaching the late stage of Divine Emperor in a single path, one could hope to become an elder in the Elder Hall of Yulon City. Dao Lord Waning Moon was an elder in the Elder Hall, but in terms of strength, he was almost at the level of the Hall Master. What a treasure! Receiving this pair of gloves and fusing them with a thought, experiencing the combined mysteries of life and death within, Luo Feng could not put them down. Treasures from the late stage of Divine Emperor are generally not priced too high. But if it's at the perfection of Divine Emperor, even the cheapest would cost over 1 million primordial crystals, Emperor Qing said laughing on the side. These gloves, you got them for a good deal. Luo Feng nodded. The last time he spent over 190,000 primordial crystals on resources, and this time another 98,000 on a secret treasure, leaving him with not much more. Inside the cave mansion. Emperor Ming, are you really planning to go hunting? Di Fu looked at Emperor Ming. It's been so long since I arrived at Yulon City, and I've gotten to know many bloodline cultivators who practice primordial bloodline. Emperor Ming nodded. There are many who have reached the early stage of Divine Emperor thanks to the primordial bloodline in Yulon City. The real hunting teams wouldn't look up to us, so we have to form our own team. The joint efforts of dozens of bloodline cultivators at the early stage of Divine Emperor still have the hope to kill the weakest low-level primordial life, Emperor Ming said. It could also lead to death, Di Fu remarked, looking at his companion. Emperor Ming smiled lightly. Don't worry. He also had a secret. Although he didn't have the clone technique, thanks to the rewards he received in the area of spiritual will in the Infinite Space Treasure Vault, he exchanged treasures for primogenitor Yang Feng. The items he requested from the ancestor were for the sake of preserving life, and primogenitor Yang Feng found 2 of the most top-notch life-saving treasures for him, each of which merged with the soul. They could be activated when faced with a crisis of death. Emperor Ming also exchanged for a life-saving treasure in the Infinite Space Treasure Vault himself. He was very clear. Without the clone technique, the importance of preserving life was his first priority. Other aspects could be accumulated slowly. There is no retreat on the path of cultivation. Emperor Ming's determination was set. Having been in Yulon City for nearly a century, he had observed for a long time. He was sure that the strong who could rise up were almost all those who grew up fighting low-level primordial life forms. Emperor Ming, if you have decided to go hunting, make sure you choose your companions carefully, Di Fu reminded. Right, Emperor Ming was aware of the importance of selecting the right companions. Once outside the city, where rules no longer bind them, anything could happen. The reason he had waited until today to go out was that he was patiently searching for suitable companions. That was also why Emperor Qing was so thrilled when he first discovered the Galaxy Ruler. A trustworthy companion with sufficient strength is extremely rare. After purchasing the secret treasure gloves and familiarizing himself with them for over 100 days, Luo Feng quietly set off with Emperor Qing, leaving Yulon City. Outside Yulon City, a black flying boat disappeared in a flash, invisible to the naked eye. On this black flying boat were Luo Feng and Emperor Qing. This flying boat was Emperor Qing's strongest one, with extremely powerful concealment abilities. With our strengths, our hunting targets are mainly low-level primordial life forms at the early stage of Divine Emperor. Although we are not afraid of those at the middle stage of Divine Emperor, it would be difficult to kill them, Emperor Qing stated. It's hard to accurately judge the strength of low-level primordial life forms just by appearances, Luo Feng expressed his concerns. That's when we have to rely on experience, Emperor Qing laughed. We will work together to judge. Luo Feng nodded. Now that we've left the city, we must carefully observe our surroundings, Emperor Qing reminded. We need to be cautious of not only the low-level primordial life forms, but also other cultivators. I understand. Luo Feng's brow opened the biomimetic eye of destruction, bringing the surrounding billions of kilometers into his observational range, including the traces of spacetime left behind in the past. breath, space-time traces, fluctuation traces, remnants of will. Luo Feng meticulously observed in all directions. Emperor Qing also utilized a secret treasure, probing the void in all directions. We're now approaching one of the 9 rivers, the Cold Ice River. It's teeming with innumerable low-level primordial life forms, and the closer we get, the more likely we are to encounter them, Emperor Qing explained. Most of the low-level primordial life are at the early stages of Divine Emperor, accounting for over 90% of the total. The stronger ones are much rarer. So, the chances of encountering extremely powerful low-level primordial life are still very low, Emperor Qing said, somewhat relaxed, given his considerable hunting experience. In the past, Emperor Qing had to be wary of his companions. But this time, with Luo Feng as his partner, he could relax a lot more. Both parties have avatars in the land of origin, and without an immensely tempting lure, betrayal between them is virtually impossible. Laughing and talking along the way, Luo Feng suddenly fell silent, his gaze stretching into the distance. His brow's biomimetic eye of destruction had caught sight of a massive creature. It was a huge, winged creature stealthily hiding in the void, with a pair of sharp claws and wings larger than its body. Its head was triangular with 3 faces, coldly observing its surroundings. The scales on its wings were a dead grey, exuding a sense of death just by looking at it. A 3-faced grey-winged beast, Luo Feng stated seriously. Judging by its size, breadth, and fluctuations, it should still be at the early levels of Divine Emperor. As he spoke, Luo Feng waved his hand, conjuring a phantom map and marking the position of that low-level primordial creature. Oh! Emperor Qing, driving a black flying boat, cautiously approached until he too finally spotted the low-level primordial creature. I also think it's at the early levels of Divine Emperor, Emperor Qing judged based on his experience. Brother Emperor Qing, let me take the lead and try, Luo Feng declared, filled with fighting spirit. I haven't yet crossed hands with a low-level primordial life. Emperor Qing nodded and smiled. All right, if you can't handle it, then I'll step in. He could also use this fight to gauge Luo Feng's strength. Suddenly, Luo Feng donned a white robe, an item transformed from his heavenly light avatar. Among the 5 avatars, the heavenly light avatar was the most tenacious. Using it as armor was more suitable than purchasing a piece of secret treasure armor. Secret treasure armors can recover after minor damage. However, once severely damaged and the secret patterns are destroyed, restoration becomes difficult. But a robe formed from the heavenly light avatar can swiftly recover even if it is gravely damaged, as energy circulates. Let's go. With a thought, Luo Feng instantly entered the future timeline. There are quite a few cultivators who can enter the past timeline. It's much rarer to be able to enter the future timeline, an ability of the time avatar. Brother Luo Feng can walk along other timelines. Emperor Qing inwardly exclaimed as he watched the scene. Hidden in the void, the 3-faced grey-winged beast with its 3 cold faces observed in all directions, its slender tail moving slowly like a thread, patiently waiting. It knew that often there would be cultivators approaching the direction of the Cold Ice River, providing it with opportunities to launch surprise attacks. Devouring cultivators. It yearned for that. Devouring more would earn it rewards from heaven and earth, making it even stronger. Perhaps one day, it could even leave this world. Boom! Suddenly, a colossal projection of a world descended, suppressing the 3-faced grey-winged beast beneath it. Cultivators' insights enhanced their spiritual will. The likes of Emperor Qing and the Lord of 10,000 Realms only had their spiritual will evolve to the Divine Emperor stage after reaching the ultimate realm. Luo Feng's life, destruction, and life and death, all 3 great Taos reached the ultimate realm one after another, greatly augmenting his spiritual will as well. Especially the great Tao of life and death brought the greatest help. Now, with Luo Feng's world avatar reaching a full 300 times the energy reserve of the perfect divine body, he could easily manage his spiritual will. Naturally, the power of the world projection was immense. Heaven and earth unite. At this moment, the heaven and earth avatar and the vast surrounding world became one, as if the heavens and earth had turned into a domain under Luo Feng's control. Controlling heaven and earth. World projection. All of it suppressed and bound the 3-faced grey-winged beast. There's a cultivator. The three-faced grey-winged beast was shocked and angry. Its wings vibrated to break free from the bonds, but the binding force was too strong. It felt it could only exert 60 to 70% of its strength. This is bad. Forbidden art, heavenly extinguishing curse technique. Lai Yuan technique. At that moment, Luo Feng's causality avatar used one of the forbidden arts created after fully understanding the great Tao of life and death, the heavenly extinguishing curse technique. This move had significant energy consumption and was immensely powerful. As the causality curse technique descended, Luo Feng's world avatar also executed the Lai Yuan technique. The three-faced grey-winged beast saw an overwhelming star rolling towards it, crushing its will. Rumbling. Low-level primordial life as beings that have leaped out of the braided cage, their souls or their physical bodies are terrifyingly tenacious. Suffering simultaneously from the attacks of heavenly extinguishing curse technique and Lai Yuan technique, the three-faced grey-winged beast felt somewhat dazed, its consciousness significantly dulled. At this moment, Luo Feng, dressed in a white robe and towering in stature about one-third the size of the three-faced grey-winged beast, suddenly appeared in front of it. The moment he appeared, Luo Feng's giant hands, wearing secret treasure gloves, acted like sharp claws, embodying the profound rotation of life and death, and forcefully pierced through the chest of the three-faced grey-winged beast. Each of Luo Feng's fingers was like a sharp blade, with the aura of life and death flowing around, incomparably sharp. After piercing through the chest scale armor of the three-faced grey-winged beast, Luo Feng suddenly slashed downward, enlarging the wound swiftly as purple blood sprayed out. This scale armor is not ordinarily tough. Luo Feng felt great resistance while cutting with his secret treasure gloves, secretly feeling relieved that he had used the forbidden spell and Lai Yuan technique, causing the three-faced grey-winged beast to have no means of resistance, taking his full force hit and resulting in such a battle outcome. Having sustained such heavy injuries, the three-faced grey-winged beast was fully awake now. Ignoring the massive wound on its chest, the face on its front suddenly opened its mouth, casting a grey light beam enveloping Luo Feng. Go away! Luo Feng's body shrank, darting like a ray of light into the massive wound in the chest and belly of the three-faced grey-winged beast, entering its body, while the grey light beam just barely grazed past Luo Feng's back. This graze caused part of the robe and skin on his back to vanish, but in a blink of an eye, it had already recovered. That grey light beam is quite powerful. The moment he entered the body of the three-faced grey-winged beast, Luo Feng felt the surrounding flesh squeezing in heavily. The purple blood also emitted a grey luster with a strong corrosive effect, beginning to corrode the white robe covering Luo Feng's body. This was the heavenly light avatar, and the white robe also began to show numerous injuries but rapidly recovered again. Where's the life core? Luo Feng's claws tore through more flesh and bone, burrowing deeper into the three-faced grey-winged beast. Oh! The three-faced grey-winged beast felt the cultivator moving and wreaking havoc inside its body, in considerable pain. From a distance inside the black flying boat, Emperor Qing closely observed the battle. Brother Luo Feng's strength. Emperor Qing was somewhat amazed. Everyone knew that even the physical body of a low-level primordial life at the early stages of Divine Emperor was very strong. But Luo Feng was fighting head-on and even gaining the upper hand. In a single encounter, he tore open the chest and belly of the three-faced grey-winged beast, even burrowing inside. Truly ferocious. Emperor Qing looked on with joy. Those who were good at close combat, the more ferocious, the better. However, low-level primordial life is not so easy to kill. With his rich experience, Emperor Qing knew the troublesome nature of the three-faced grey-winged beast. The hunting team of Yulon City generally required the strength of early-stage Divine Emperor enlightened walkers to join, and a team would have 3 to 5 members cooperating. One-on-one, to kill a low-level primordial life? Extremely difficult. Emperor Qing dared to venture out with Luo Feng because he was strong enough himself, having 1 foot already stepping into the middle stage of Divine Emperor. As Luo Feng resisted the corrosion of the blood while searching for the life core inside the three-faced grey-winged beast, suddenly, the three-faced grey-winged beast, with a cold gaze, silently transformed into a vast expanse of grey mist. From a flesh form to a gaseous form. In terms of defense and explosive power, it became weaker. But its ability to preserve life, escape, and stealth attack greatly increased. At this moment, Luo Feng was surrounded by endless grey mist, which was even more corrosive than the blood. The white robe on Luo Feng's body began to tear, yet its life force was incredibly strong, continuously healing. Within the mist, sharp claws struck, hitting Luo Feng's chest, back, and legs in a series of attacks, even tearing through the white robe. But for the world avatar, having 300 times its energy reserve and tough flesh, these were mere superficial wounds to Luo Feng. Minor scratches healed in the blink of an eye. This cultivator, even more troublesome in the flesh than me. The vast grey mist was shocked. Its claws, after tearing through the white robe and thick skin, at most barely wounded a bit of flesh. With the healing abilities of the world avatar, he recovered in a blink. Low-level primordial life was said to have strong physical bodies and extremely strong life force. But at this moment, it felt that the cultivator in front of it, in terms of the strength of physical body and life force, was even stronger than itself. Its moves were more mysterious. And he wielded powerful secret treasures. How to fight? Escape. Not wanting to entangle any further, the vast grey mist flew away towards the distance. Want to escape? Witness my forbidden spell, Palm World. Luo Feng thought. The heaven and earth avatar, merging with the surrounding vast world domain, now cast the forbidden spell, created by Luo Feng based on the heaven and earth avatar's innate talent and rooted in the great Tao of life and death, mimicking the innate secret treasure Palm World. This forbidden spell, composed of 8 ultimate realm secret techniques of the life and death Tao, was most suitable for the heaven and earth avatar. Boom rumble tilde tilde tilde. A vastly enormous illusory palm appeared, within which there was a world, and within that world was the grey mist. Suppressed by the palm world, the escaping speed of the endless grey mist became very slow. The endless grey mist sensed something bad and immediately split into 9 parts, with 9 strands of mist frantically escaping in all directions. Forbidden spell, Time Walker. The Time Avatar, striking from the past, present, and future simultaneously, instantly obliterated one strand of mist. Although the grey mist, when split into 9 parts, was more conducive to escape, the combat strength of each individual mist in a direct confrontation was greatly reduced. No match for the life and death Tao forbidden spell cast by Luo Feng's Time Avatar. Puff. 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 As if they were being broken one by one, yet as if attacked all at once. 9 grey mists, with 7 having been assaulted by the Time Avatar, and as the 7th mist dissipated, a spinning meatball emerged. Life Core. Luo Feng's eyes lit up, he had finally found it. This life core was hidden within the 7th mist and was indeed the true core of the low-level primordial life. The forbidden power of Luo Feng's Time Avatar sufficed to affect this life core, but not to break it open. Vanish. With the help of the Palm World, the towering world avatar took a step forward and caught up with the meatball life core. Luo Feng's right hand moved like lightning, with each of his 5 fingers acting like blades. With the secret treasure gloves, no need to use any forbidden spells, simply the intrinsic secrets within the gloves exceeded the power of forbidden spells. That's the advantage of treasures, greatly enhancing a cultivator's strength. No, the fleeing meatball emitted a shrill cry. Tear. Luo Feng's 5 blade-like fingers flashed past, grazing the meatball and leaving 3 gash wounds. At that moment, the grey mist that had been escaping stopped moving, naturally merging back together and transformed into the massive, scar-covered corpse of a 3-faced grey-winged beast, crashing to the ground and causing a slight tremor. Luo Feng let out a breath and smiled. At last, I've killed this low-level primordial life. Luo Feng landed and gazed at the colossal 3-faced grey-winged beast's corpse, feeling it had not been easy. He had truly given it his all. He had launched with the spell and Lai Yuan technique, otherwise the fight would have been much more troublesome. The complete life and death Tao, the forbidden spells specially created according to the causality avatar, time avatar, and heaven and earth avatar had all been used. And the power of the secret treasure gloves helped eliminate this weakest of low-level primordial lives. Early stage divine emperor of low-level primordial life, the weakest kind. It took all I had. Luophone thought to himself. At this time, the black flying boat appeared nearby, and Emperor Qing walked out from the side, looking incredulously at Luophone. Brother Luophone, you just faced and completely suppressed this low-level primordial life head-on. Emperor Qing exclaimed in amazement. If the beginning could be considered a stealth attack. But as the battle went on, the three-faced grey-winged beast turned into mist and attacked Luophone's physical body, which the world avatar of Luophone easily withstood, showing a clearer advantage in physical strength. Moreover, you killed it one-on-one. Emperor Qing couldn't help but say, among the early-stage Divine Emperor Enlightened, there are very few who can kill a low-level primordial life one-on-one. Your strength, among early-stage Divine Emperor Enlightened, can be considered top-notch. Emperor Qing sighed. He had originally thought Luophone's strength was that of a normal early-stage Divine Emperor Enlightened, especially without treasures like the nine-layered tower, possibly showing weaker strength. But with the strength Luophone displayed this time, Emperor Qing was very pleased, much stronger than he had anticipated. Together, the two of them could deal with more dangerous situations, and the results of the hunt could be better. Low-level primordial lives have different innate abilities, and I just happen to counter the three-faced grey-winged beast. If I meet other low-level primordial lives, I might just have to stare blankly. Luophone said with a smile. That's why we need to team up. Emperor Qing laughed. All right, let's quickly collect this prey. It's your first low-level primordial life. Luophone nodded, looking at the massive corpse in front of him, his first ever kill of a low-level primordial life. Phew. Luophone waved his hand and collected it. This low-level primordial life was hunted by you alone, so it belongs to you. Emperor Qing said. Luophone shook his head. There's no need for that. Since we teamed up together, we follow what was previously agreed upon, splitting the spoils half and half. Emperor Qing had said they would split them half and half, partly to aid Luophone. After all, having been in Yulon City for a long time, Emperor Qing was much wealthier than Luophone and wouldn't miss the little bit. But at this moment, Emperor Qing also realized, splitting half and half. It could no longer be considered an advantage for Luophone. Although with the sword array, he was above Luophone in terms of burst strength. But a cultivator with such a powerful physical body, capable of close combat with low-level primordial life, was most welcomed by the various hunting teams in Yulon City. Especially since the powerhouses from myriads of worlds did not have the clone technique, and those willing to fight in close combat were even rarer. Ha ha ha, agreed. Emperor Qing did not argue. He was well aware that forming a team, a single low-level primordial life, was nothing. By the way, Brother Emperor Qing, how much is this low-level primordial life worth? Luophone inquired. This is an early-stage Divine Emperor level, low-level primordial life. Based on my experience, it's worth about 800,000 primordial crystals. Emperor Qing said. Luophone nodded. If it were a middle-stage Divine Emperor level low-level primordial life, the price would be much higher, but such a level primordial life, even if Luophone and Emperor Qing joined hands, might manage to suppress it a bit. But to kill it? There's a very slim possibility. Let's continue hunting. Emperor Qing was now boiling with a fighting spirit and looked forward to the reward of their first hunt together. A vast expanse of heaven and earth had already twisted, evolving into a new world within. Within this new world, where birds chirped and flowers fragranced, there lurked a massive creature forged like ice, stunningly captivating under the illumination of light. This colossal ice creature exhaled endless mist, filling half of the 3,000 worlds, yet not a single cultivator came into contact with it. It was the low-level primordial life, Frost Nightmare Messenger. Where are the cultivators? Where? The Frost Nightmare Messenger was quite agitated. It excelled in ice and a few soul-related methods, but this time, the cultivators had kept their distance, shrouding it with a terrifying formation. 3,000 worlds, deadly mechanisms of heaven and earth. A cold voice echoed. Within this world, billions of sword lights appeared instantly. The countless sword lights interlocked like gears, making the entire formation cooperate with profound mystery, and its power surged dramatically, to the point where the low-level primordial life, Frost Nightmare Messenger, fell into despair. No, The Frost Nightmare Messenger watched in despair as a flood of sword lights engulfed it, eventually tearing open its body and cleaving through its core. Before absolute power, it had no way out. Its shattered corpse fell to the ground. It was only then that Emperor Qing appeared, waving his hand to collect the massive corpse. Although the sword lights had sliced up the body, the actual loss was minuscule, and it could still fetch a high price. Impressive, Luo Feng also appeared nearby, praising, "Brother Emperor Qing, you are much more crisp and decisive than me. And this 3,000 kill array is also much more profound than when we sparred before." Emperor Qing had also deployed the 3,000 kill array when they sparred in the land of origin, but back then it was not as profound. "I brought a secret treasure array map, which I purchased for 5 million primordial crystals. It is a half-primordial level formation diagram," Emperor Qing smiled. "With this array map, the 3,000 kill array can be even stronger. This Frost Nightmare Messenger was just something I happened to restrain." Luo Feng nodded. After all, Emperor Qing was an enlightened who had almost reached the middle stage of Divine Emperor, with deeper realm accumulation and a fitting formation diagram. His explosive power was indeed above his own. Boom! Massive thunder twinkled wildly, roaming all over. Luo Feng's world avatar struggled to entangle, but this time the terrifying, massive thunder did not engage him in combat, instead it focused on escaping. It tore through the edge of the 3,000 worlds and vanished in a flash. "It was my mistake," appeared Emperor Qing nearby, shaking his head. "Brother Luo Feng, even with your will secret technique, you forced this thunder weasel to reveal its true body. I couldn't kill it in one strike, and as soon as it regained consciousness, it fled immediately. We've done our best." Luo Feng had also gained insight. Forbidden spells and the Lai Yuan technique were simultaneously deployed, managing to blast the thunder, which was hidden in the clouds, revealing its original form as a seemingly small beast like Thunder Weasel. But the Thunder Weasel had very strong survival abilities. Even if slightly dazed and confused, it was able to resist a full-force attack from Emperor Qing's formation, shedding 90% of its power and forcibly escaping the 3,000 worlds formation. It's a pity. Although this Thunder Weasel is also an early stage of Divine Emperor, low-level primordial life, the profundity of thunder it contains is quite extraordinary, valued at around 3 million primordial crystals. But it's too difficult to kill. Emperor Qing was also rather helpless. Luo Feng nodded. Low-level primordial life, after all, are born free from the braided cage, possessing many special talents. Some with extremely special talents could even sneak into a city like Yulon City, which is under the protection of many elders and hall masters. Therefore, occasionally in Yulon City, cultivators are ambushed and killed by low-level primordial life. But such covert attacks by low-level primordial life are not too reckless, because attacks within the city may at any moment provoke a group of elders to strike back. Luo Feng and Emperor Qing hunted together, and their cooperation got better and better. Luo Feng's causality avatar deployed the heavenly extinguishing curse technique in combination with the Lai Yuan technique to great effect, generally able to daze Divine Emperor early-stage low-level primordial lives, giving them a very short window to launch a killing move. Luo Feng engaged in close combat entanglement with Emperor Qing's 3,000 kill array encircling. The 3,000 kill array was more than 10 times stronger than Luo Feng's heaven and earth avatar combined with world projection. One after another, Divine Emperor early-stage, low-level primordial lives were hunted down by the two of them. Sigh? The black flying boat was flying stealthily. Luo Feng's biomimetic eye of destruction opened between his eyebrows, carefully observing the surroundings. Emperor Qing was also employing his detection technique, each with their own strengths in different secret detection methods. Not far from the black flying boat was a colossal creature integrated into the void. This behemoth, as if part of the void itself, had tens of thousands of long limbs. With the tens of thousands of limbs working like a loom, the void was being woven, turning the vast expanse into a web it had woven. The black flying boat of Luo Feng and company had already flown into the web. At this moment, Luo Feng and Emperor Qing were still completely unaware and were carefully scouting the surroundings. Buzz! The void weaves, layer upon layer of netting enveloped over. Something's not right, Emperor Qing suddenly frowned. What's wrong? Luo Feng was still completely unaware, as his spatial perception was far inferior to Emperor Qing's. Let's leave, quickly. Although Emperor Qing could not be certain, he vaguely sensed a great terror in the void. Whoosh! He immediately steered the black flying boat, reaching its limit in burst speed. As the black flying boat abruptly darted forward, layers upon layers of void webbing throughout the world finally fully emerged, encompassing the black flying boat. It's a void weaver! Emperor Qing and Luo Feng both recognized it and saw the emerging void weaver, its massive size, and terrible aura, which allowed them to estimate its probable strength. This episode is end here.